I was going to start by talking about the important news of the day, but I want to start by talking about something trivial, because sometimes trivial incidents actually do tell an important story. And I've got to, before I talk about this, I'm going to have to play some video. So listen to it, because it actually does. You got to hear it before you know what I'm talking about. And I want to talk about this thing with Megyn Kelly. If you haven't heard about this, she went on her show and they were discussing Halloween costumes. And of course, I'm not joking. The left just wants to suck the joy out of everything we do. Everything is problematical. Everything has to be reconsidered. Everything has to be looked at in the light of their woke, brilliant righteousness. Megyn Kelly went on and she was talking about being in costumes, talking about somebody who had put on a white woman who had put on a costume of Diana Ross and made her skin look a little darker so she'd look more like Diana Ross. And she said, gee, I think this would be okay. And the people on the show with her said they didn't agree because of the old days when people would do minstrel shows and they would do kind of cliched, stereotype versions of black people with the white lips and all this stuff. Megyn Kelly then got slammed, of course, by the Stalinists on Twitter, and she had to apologize. Now, so before I talk about this, because I'm about to tell you why we should very, very much dress up in blackface or whiteface or any other damn thing we please. But first, I want you to hear the usual. It really is like these Stalinist show trials. They drag you in front. Megyn Kelly had to go on and apologize for this, which she did with, like, her eyes filled. Let's play that first.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm Megyn Kelly, and I want to begin with 2 words. I'm sorry. You may have heard that yesterday we had a discussion here about political correctness and Halloween costumes. And that conversation turned to whether it is ever okay for a person of one race to dress up as another. A black person making their face lighter or a white person making theirs darker to make a costume complete. I defended the idea, saying as long as it was respectful and part of a Halloween costume, it seemed okay. Well, I was wrong, and I am sorry. One of the great parts of sitting in this chair each day is getting to discuss different points of view. Sometimes I talk and sometimes I listen. And yesterday I learned. I learned that given the history of blackface being used in awful ways by racists in this country, it is not okay for that to be part of any costume, Halloween or otherwise.
Okay, before I talk about this, I want to play one more clip just so you have the whole picture, because of course with this stuff, no apology is ever enough. They are after blood. They are not happy. And, it's not like, yeah, okay, Megyn, you made a mistake. I disagreed with you. Now I convinced you. You've come over to my side. Never. It is never, ever enough. I'm not going to play Don Lemonhead because who cares what he thinks. But just as on her own network, right? On her own network, they come on and they have 2 commentators, one of them Al Roker, the weatherman, discussing this and why even this is not enough.
Most of the online criticism addressed the fact that there were no people of color represented in that panel, pointing out that what we saw was a conversation that people generally have in a private space where there are no repercussions. But this learning moment really gifted us the opportunity to have this conversation in a public discourse. So we now have the courage and we have the platform to have conversations like this, even when they're uncomfortable, because we can see they're still necessary.
Well, it is uncomfortable, obviously, because Megyn is a colleague at NBC News, but it's, I know you.
Look, the fact is, while she apologized to the staff, she owes a bigger apology to folks of color around the country, because this is a history going back to the 1830s, minstrel shows to demean and denigrate a race wasn't right. I'm old enough to have lived through Amos and Andy, where you had white people in blackface playing 2 black characters, and with just magnifying the worst stereotypes about black people. And that's what the big problem is.
So I'm a person of color. My color is white. And here's what I want to say about this. This is crap. Are you telling me that a little black kid, if his hero is Batman, he can't put on a Batman mask and be Batman? Are you telling me that a little white boy, if he wants to be, what's his name, this guy, Black Panther, he can't dress up as Black Panther? There's a movie about Jackie Robinson, the great baseball player, obviously first black guy in the major leagues. And there's a scene in this movie, genuinely moving scene, where they're traveling on a train. They look out the window and there's a little boy playing baseball, doing what we all did, what all of us, I did certainly when I was a little boy, pretending to be his hero. And his hero is Jackie Robinson. And he's a white boy pretending to be a black man. That's a victory. That's a victory. We know it. When we see the movie, we understand this is a victory. The good guys won. That's the whole point. The good guys won this battle. Look, of course there are costumes that wouldn't be right if they express hatred, if they express disrespect. I don't want to see anybody dressing up as a Klansman or a Nazi or anything like that. That's not the point. That is not the point. But what about your hero? What if he's a ball player? What if your hero is a ball player and you're a white kid and you want to dress up as a black ball player? If you want to wear his jersey and that's not all right? You know, Al Roker, listen, this is not a personal attack on Al Roker. I shook hands with him once. He seems like a lovely guy. He's my age, okay? We're on the exit ramp of life. It's not the job of old people to transfer the pain of history to young people. You should learn history. You should know history, but you don't repeat it. But you don't have to live in history. My father hated Germans. He hated German people. Well, I could understand that. He fought in World War II. Of course he hated German people. The Holocaust was a raw nerve for him. You know, I totally get that. It's not my job to hate German people. Those people are all dead. The people who did that stuff are dead. The new people are not responsible. We won. When I say we, I mean the good guys won this fight. We understand there were injustices in this country. Those injustices are over. People felt ashamed. People felt all the things that, why won't they let the wound heal? Well, it's obviously why, because they think they get power from it. You know, if this was still Amos and Andy, if this was still, minstrel shows, I'd say, okay, yeah, so that's disrespectful. But how is it disrespectful to have somebody when your hero is somebody of a different color? We should all be dressing up as one another. You know why? Because we are one another. There's no difference. We are one another. We're all Americans. We should be able to dress up as one another. And to say, oh, in the old days, it used to be one thing, and therefore it's still that thing. You know, the American people are much, much smarter than their intellectuals. The American people are much, much smarter than their commentators. They're perfectly able to see things that aren't, so to speak, black and white. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. And why these people think that they should have some power, some say over what people do with their kids, what their kids want to do if they're not their parents, I have no idea. And the idea that Megyn Kelly had to be, there are people on the right agreeing with this, saying she said something stupid. I don't think she said something stupid at all. I'm totally on her side. And I hate to say,